the president does recognize that there's an opportunity for Democrats and Republicans to work together. And the key to doing that is not the frequency of conversations, but more the willingness from people on both sides to try to find common ground and not allow disagreements over one issue become an obstacle to making any sort of agreement on any issue.
Immigration, Obamacare, the security of Americans here at home. It's a hefty plate to wield for the new Congress, and the American public is demanding action from those they have given the opportunity to serve in Washington. It is time for lawmakers to stand and be counted with hard answers. That means a minimum of bickering, which we have seen in the past is somewhat difficult inside the Beltway. Welcome to MidPoint. He represents those in the 7th Congressional District of Michigan, a staunch opponent of the Affordable Health Care Act, member of the House Committee on Education and the Workforce, and the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. He's busy, but he takes time for us. Congressman Tim Walberg joins us. Congressman, thanks for being here.
Ed, it's great to be with you. Thanks for the interest.
My pleasure, Congressman. We hear those words common ground, and we just heard Josh Earnest mention them again. Congressman, I have to be honest with you. Members of the American public are sick and tired of hearing the words common ground. They've been hearing it now for years, and they don't see it happening. Do you sense that actually, honestly, this time there's going to be some form of common ground, at least the attempt from left and right to get together and actually get something done?
Well, I think there always will be an attempt, and there needs to be. Of course, we need to remember that our Constitution established a government that is messy. It's not based upon a single principle other than the first principles of limited government, a government that is run by its people. And so if we were to listen to the people right now and do what they asked us to do, and I think they suggested very strongly in the last election process, that we get some things done that they're concerned with, including securing the borders, including stopping the unconstitutional power grabs from various entities of government, including the president, who took control of immigration by saying we're going to give amnesty to 5 million people. And oh, by the way, I never thought I had the power to do this. I said this many times before, but I'm going to violate even what I believe the powers I have, and I'm going to give amnesty. So those are issues of concern. The Keystone Pipeline, we passed in the House. It looks like the Senate will pass it. The president has said, I'm going to veto that. So who is not looking for common ground? Is it Congress or is it the president? I contest right now it's the president.
Do you get the sense that Democrats, now knowing that they are in the minority, that they are willing to cut deals? They're a little more willing to be acquiescent to what is necessary to move things forward. And maybe you have a few more of your Democratic colleagues now you can go to and speak a little more plainly to and say, come on, let's get something done, and not get the sort of pushback that maybe you got 6 months ago.
Well, I think there are. I've been in the minority, I've been in the majority, and both sides have their benefits. But there's also a reality that there are many of us on both sides of the aisle that are willing to talk to each other. We're friends. We believe in America. We want to move America forward. But I think, again, it comes down to leadership. And when you have leadership that is pushing forward this lack of common ground, it makes it difficult for those members of us who want to work to a solution that the American people are talking about. And indeed, Ed, as we need to always remember, we are representatives of the government. That's the people. We come representing their concerns, their issues. They don't have all of the information that we have, and yet we have to find a way within the confines of the Constitution to do what they're asking us to do. And right now they're asking us some clear things. Secure the border. Make sure that immigration laws work for legal immigrants. We want immigrants, but we want them to be legal and follow the laws. We want to have the expanded opportunities for them and our citizens to experience the American dream. We want to make sure that we have energy independence, that we have jobs. And the Keystone Pipeline, for instance, hundreds of thousands of jobs, both direct and ancillary, will be impacted by that. We have unions, we have individual workers, we have the middle class asking for this. Why can't the president give acquiescence to say the will of the people has spoken, let me sign the bill? So those are things that we can move forward on, and I'm certainly willing to sit down at the table to my Democrat colleagues and my Republican colleagues and say, let's find that solution that works, but in turn, let's not forget the will of the people.
Congressman, 30 seconds before we take a break and come back, but are the Republicans willing to stop their own in-house bickering this time around?
I hope so. Republicans are independent. We think for ourselves, but we aren't led in a herd mentality, but sometimes you have to realize, as I come from Michigan with the history of Bo Schembechler, sometimes it's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. You do that every down, you get a first down, ultimately you get a touchdown. Strategy, I think we have to be willing to have differences in, principles, I think we line up and say we will stand by those. But strategy has to change to make the success in the moment.
We got to be careful. Don Shula once told me 3 yards in a cloud of dust means you're 4th and 1 and you still haven't made a first down. See, we got to get into that. Hold on tight, Congressman. We'll be right back. Tim Walberg, we'll be back after the break. Let's dig deeper into education. The president offering free community college for everyone. That and more coming up right here on MidPoint. Welcome back to MidPoint. Also, welcome back. Michigan Republican Congressman Tim Walberg joins us. Congressman, let me be blunt about something here. The House earlier today decided they would fully fund the Department of Homeland Security while they will still block the president's actions on immigration. You mentioned a couple of times the need to secure the borders. But in light of what happened in France, knowing full well that we have homegrown terrorists, we have cells very likely in this country right now that are already here, shouldn't we be spending more time focusing on what is already here than worrying about borders, which we really don't have a tremendous amount of evidence that ISIS or any other terrorist groups are actually crossing?
Well, I think we do. We do have that concern. We have released from Guantanamo Bay on down to the Latin American countries. They can come right up through our borders. We know that they're here. But I think the key is our Homeland Security budget with the Republican plan fully funds it. In fact, it expands. It expands on funding. The issue is, will we push back against the president's unbelievable, unconstitutional attack on the Constitution of our country, on the laws of the land, and on even what he said before that he had no power to do? That will be addressed in the amnesty portion with amendments that go in. If my colleagues on the other side of the aisle and the president want to make sure that their desires are carried out, and that's to secure our country through a solid Homeland Security Department, fully funded. In fact, in our case, again, I'd say increased in funding, then they simply have to pass the bill. That will do the job. That'll take care of what I think all Americans want to the best of our ability, including cyber. And let's get back to the Constitution. We can address the issue of the border subsequent to saying, Mr. President, you will not do what you did with the executive order and overstep your constitutional authority.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned cyber, because now there's a tremendous amount of concern there. And there's a lot of bills that have been sitting around through Congress in the last 5-6 years that could actually have addressed this and actually could have put us in front of a lot of these hackers who are now getting into our system. I got to be honest with you. The people are saying that's your fault. That's the fault of the lawmakers, the congressmen, and the president for not getting these things done and passing them. So people want to know now, after we've seen what happened at CENTCOM, what are you doing now to make sure these things get through and we're back in front of the bad guys?
Ed, you're absolutely right. And I think the American people are asking that question. And they're saying, why doesn't it get done in our federal Congress? And, oh, by the way, with the president signing bills. Here in the House, we've passed many, many bills across all sorts of issues, whether it be job issues, career training issues, but also defense, homeland security, and cybersecurity bills. They've gone from the House in many cases, in fact, most cases, in a bipartisan fashion, only to sit and languish and ultimately die in the Senate with no action because one man, Harry Reid, decided he would be the backstop or the hedge for the president. That isn't the case now. Now, if American people don't see the House and Senate, even though the Senate still is going to have a challenge at times of getting 60 votes to pass it when the push is there, yet there will be an opportunity to debate those issues, and I may even have a chance that I haven't had since my first term in office to be a part of a conference committee to hammer out the differences in a Civics 101 process where we don't get everything we want, but at least we move the ball forward. And that's what the people are expecting of us. And then the president has to help by saying, I will give my good faith effort to look at the legislation, not expecting 100% myself, and I will sign. When I veto, I expect you to go back and try to change it to make me supportive of it. But nonetheless, that's how the system works. I think we can do it, Ed, this time. I think we have the goodwill in both houses now and the effort, and let's see if the president leads and supports us along those lines.
I've only got about a minute left. You mentioned civics, and I wanted to spend a lot more time talking education to you, which we will hopefully at another time. But the president wants to make community college free for everybody. Senator, shouldn't we be spending more time, or Congressman rather, shouldn't we be spending more time now making sure that the kids in grade school and in high school actually are smart? Because we've got kids, quite frankly, that are dumb compared to the rest of the world right now. We're not getting them the education that they need in the early years.
Yeah, let's make sure we have a choice opportunity for all of our students. And you're right, begin at the earliest grades. Make sure that they understand the basics, that they can build upon those basics. You and I both know, and we appreciate that education is a lifelong process. We never complete that process. So let's build a foundation. Community college is great. My three kids all have attended community college. It impacted them well, and then they went on for four-year degrees. Not everybody needs to go even to community college, but everyone needs a career opportunity, and so education following those first 12 years is extremely important. If the president was sincere, he would have offered this bill back when he controlled both houses, or at least controlled the Senate. He didn't right now. We have an $18 trillion debt. To add to that, the increased cost of what he wants to do with free community college education,
More taxes.
I think is purely politically motivated. I sit on the Education and Workforce Committee. We will be working on trying to reduce the unnecessary cost burden to students so that more people can make that choice. But we can also offer more opportunities for career education that will benefit people in a greater way than even what the president is offering.
Congressman Tim Walberg, we're all out of time. Thank you so much. We're going to come back and visit this education bill once again and this education idea. Thank you again for your time.